Hello my dear students. If you are preparing for the UGC NET English exam, I really need your complete attention right now, just for a few minutes. Because what we're about to discuss, well, it could be the most important part of your entire preparation. Alright, let's begin. Just look at this number 90%. Let that sink in. This is the brutal honest-to-God failure rate for this exam. Now look, I know you are not lazy. I know you're working so hard, studying day and night, highlighting all your books. But the hard truth, the one nobody wants to tell you, is that even with all that effort, you are still at a very, very high risk of ending up in this 90%. So, let's just break down this shocking number, shall we? Look here, more than 90% of students just failing. Only about 6% managed to clear the cutoff for assistant professor. And what about the big prize, the JRF, the Junior Research Fellowship? It's less than 1%. Think about that. A tiny, tiny number. So it begs the question, right? What on earth are those few students doing differently? It all comes down to one fundamental mistake. We can call it the English Major Fallacy. You see, the 90% who fail, they are studying as if this is their MA exam. You know, they love literature, they study the history, the context, everything. But the 10% who pass, they understand the truth. This is not a university exam, my friends. This is an elimination game. The NTA is not here to test your love for literature. They are here to test your strategy. It's a different battlefield altogether. Okay? So, here's our plan for this session. This is our blueprint. We are going to systematically break down all the common mistakes that trap 90% of students. We'll talk about why your note-taking method is actually failing you, the huge danger of just reading summaries, the absolutely critical role of paper 1, why you simply cannot skip theory, and finally, the real secret, using past papers like a topper. Right? Let's tackle the first big problem. And believe me, this trap is probably sitting right on your study table as we speak. It's this belief, this idea that making more and more notes means you are learning more. We call this the collector's fallacy. Tell me, does this sound familiar? So many students, they come to me and say this exact thing. Ma'am, I have filled 5 thick registers with notes, but the moment I enter the examination hall, my mind is completely blank. It's such a common and oh so frustrating problem, isn't it? You feel like you're being productive, but the results just aren't coming. So, why does this happen? The reason has a name. It's called passive transcription. Just think about it. When you're just copying from a textbook into your notebook, yes, your hand is moving, but your brain, it's practically sleeping. You're not creating memory. You are just transcribing. It feels like hard work, but it completely bypasses the real learning process in your brain. So, what's the solution? There's a very powerful technique. It's called active recall or sometimes blurting. And the process is very simple. Step 1, you study a topic for say 20 minutes. Step 2, you close the book. No peeking. On a totally blank sheet of paper, you write down everything you can remember. Step 3, you open the book again and with a red pen, you fill in all the gaps. Now, listen carefully. Pay close attention to that red ink. That is your real syllabus. Those are the things you actually don't know. And trust me, that's where the exam questions are going to come from. Okay, let's move to the next big trap, the summary trap. So many students to cover this huge syllabus, they rely on summaries they find online. But I have to warn you, the NTA has changed its pattern completely. Relying on Wikipedia or some random website is now the fastest way to guarantee failure. Let me give you an example. Any summary of Waiting for Godot will tell you it's about 2 men waiting for someone who never comes. Simple, right? But the UGC NET will not ask you that. They will ask something like this. In Act 1, what was the specific color of Lucky's bowler hat? A summary will never ever give you that tiny detail. And this just shows you the level of micro detail that is now required. Now, obviously, you cannot read 500 novels from cover to cover. That's just impossible. So what do? You need a smart strategy. We call it the micro reading strategy. It's very simple. 1. Memorize the opening lines of all major works. 2. Focus on the sub-characters, not just the protagonist. The UGC loves minor characters. 3. Always identify the narrative voice. Is it first person, unreliable, and so on. And 4. This is very important. For all major canonical works, you must read at least the first chapter of the original text. This is what gives you the tone, the characters, the little setting details that summaries always miss. Okay, now we need to talk about what is perhaps the single biggest reason why so many bright English literature students fail this exam. It is their Achilles heel. It is paper 1. For just a moment, I want you to completely forget about literature. Forget Shakespeare, forget Wordsworth. We need to talk about math. Yes, you heard me right, math. I know most English students have an allergy to numbers. They'll say, "Ma'am, I am a words person, not a numbers person." Let me tell you that attitude is a suicide mission for this exam. Just look at this table. The math does not lie. Let's take student 1, brilliant in English literature, gets 70 questions right in paper 2. Excellent. But in paper 1, only 18 questions correct and the final results fail. Now look at student 2. This student is just average in English, gets only 55 questions right. But this student is a master of paper 1, scoring a massive 40, correct? And the result? JRF qualified. You have to understand this. Your paper 1 score is not some bonus. It is your safety net. It will make or break your entire attempt. Simple as that. Alright, let's move on to the section that gives most students nightmares. Literary theory. Let me be very clear. This is the section that separates the toppers from the crowd. It is where the herd gets thinned out. Most students find it so difficult, they just hope to guess the answers and get lucky. But you cannot guess your way through theory. It's imposing theory as just a random collection of difficult using ideas. It's not. There is a logical flow, a sort of family tree, an intellectual lineage. You see how it moves from liberal humanism, which leads to structuralism, which then leads to post-structuralism and so on. Once you understand this progression, this story, it becomes so much easier to remember who said what and why. And please, whatever you do, do not try to read the original books like Derrida of grammatology from cover to cover. You will simply drown in it. Instead, you need to use a simple, smart key term approach for this exam. Your job is to connect the main theorist to their most important concepts. So you see Derrida, you think logocentrism, aporia, trace. You see Foucault, you think panopticon episteme. You see Bhabha, you think hybridity, mimicry. This simple matching, this is 80% of the battle, I promise you. And now our final section. Everyone, your teachers, your friends, every topper will tell you to solve previous year questions. The PYQs and they are, right? But here is the secret. Just solving them is not enough. Not even close. It is how you use this gold mine of questions that will determine your final rank. Let's take a simple question like this one. The average student, the amateur, will see the question, who wrote The Wretched of the Earth? They'll find the correct answer is Frantz Fanon, take option A, and then happily move on to the next question. This is the completely wrong way to do it. So, what does the topper do? The student in the top 1%, they do what we call a OR option analysis. After they find the correct answer, they stop and they ask a crucial question. Why are these other 3 options here? They will then go and research Edward Said's most famous book. They will find Homi Bhabha's key concept. They will find out what Ngugi wa Thiong'o is known for. you have to understand this very important point. The incorrect options of this year's paper very often become the correct answers for next year's paper. So, by analyzing one question this way, you're actually preparing for 4 potential future questions. It's a game changer. So let's bring it all together. The real difference between the 90% who fail and the 10% who clear JRF, it's not intelligence. Not at all. It is all about mindset. It's about making a shift from fear to pure strategy. The 90% mindset, it runs on fear. The fear of this huge syllabus makes them hoard notes. The fear of difficult topics makes them cling to the safe and comfortable areas like British classics. The 10% mindset, it operates on data. It operates on strategy. They use active recall to actually learn. They don't run from the syllabus. They attack the entire syllabus, especially the parts that give the most marks like theory and paper 1. It really is a choice that you have to make right now. So, what is your next step? What should you do right after this explainer ends? I want you to do something very simple. Take one blank sheet of paper. Draw a simple timeline of literature. You can start from Chaucer and go all the way to postmodernism. Now with a pen, fill in everything you know with confidence. Then I want you to stop and just stare at the blank spaces on your timeline. That, my dear student, that is your real syllabus. Now go fill it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we end, I want to give you one small task, and I genuinely request each one of you to try it at least once. Please download the app from the description below and enroll in the 3-day free trial. Watch a few videos, download a few PDFs, and read them carefully. While reading, keep a blank sheet of paper with you. After finishing the PDF, close it and write down whatever you remember from the notes. Then, open the PDF again and use a red pen to mark the points you could not recall. That gap, that missing part, is exactly what UGC NET English expects you to work on. Do try this method sincerely. All the very best. I'll keep bringing such practical tips for you every day. Thank you once again. And yes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment saying, "Ma'am, I will try this." After you follow the method, come back and comment again. "Ma'am, I did it." I really want to know your experience after using this trick.